Innuendo.
No.
Sorry, I'm just adjusting this. Hi everyone, it's Hump Day. I'm gonna have to cut this part out or something. I don't know.
Doubt it.
Maybe. Doubt it. I'm just gonna go with it. Still figuring out equipment and stuff. Hey, how's it going? It's Hump Day. And on Hump Day, you look so unimpressed.
Don't I?
Yeah. On Hump Day, I like to pick a topic or a question that someone's asked me and address it. And we just put the kids down, so if they don't go down, I'm gonna send him to go run and calm them down.
Yep.
Yeah, basically. So this week, I didn't really tell you much about it. I got a couple of people suggesting certain things, which was good because I had said, please send me questions, please send me topics, because I don't have any. So if you have any, please send me more. I got a few. And the one that I really liked, I liked all of them, but the one that I wanted to address this week, someone had said, how do I introduce pegging to my partner? And I kind of just wanted to touch on that generally, like how do you introduce something that you're interested in trying to your partner? But of course I want to kind of touch up on pegging in particular because it is a very difficult topic and activity for a lot of people, and that was one of the reasons I really wanted this guy right here to kind of help me with that. Because I don't have the experience of being assigned male at birth. I don't have the experience of being red male and like dealing with toxic masculinity in terms of like pegging and stuff. So
I don't have any of those experiences. Well, I was assigned male at birth, but the toxic masculinity things and something.
but you were still raised in that environment though. Hi, Nim. I'm gonna say hi.
Okay.
But you do. Why don't you just start with your experience on pegging in general, or actually I want to kind of define pegging for folks. I don't have like a dictionary definition. How would you define pegging?
Well, pegging is basically someone using a strap-on to have sex with your butt. That's what pegging
beautiful.
is.
I hear a child calling for me. Can you go get that?
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Thanks. Sorry about that. Parent life. Okay, so pegging. Obviously that can take many forms. The most common, if you Google that, like don't do it at work, but it's essentially, the common fantasy is like a femme or female presenting person with a strap-on harness, not with a biological dick, but with a non-bio dick, having sex with a cis man or male presenting person in the butt. That is pegging, like the dictionary definition, but of course pegging can take many forms. I kind of consider it just like a strap-on in the butt, regardless of sex or gender. That's kind of how I would define it. Yeah, that's basically, I would say, what pegging is. Let me know if you have a different definition of pegging. And that's a difficult topic in general because with our, Western culture, excuse me, I just need to have a little bit of wine before I get too tongue-tied. Thank you. Toxic masculinity. And I've heard this so many times from male-presenting people or your cis men or whatever, that there's like, if you like it in the ass, then that must mean that you're gay, which of course is fine if you are, but like that's somehow emasculating. And that it makes you less of a man and less of, again, that toxic masculinity, that you have to be this like alpha, strong, super straight male. So if you like it in the ass, you're less than, essentially. Someone commented, Sam Goodman commented, strap-ons can hurt more in my opinion. Do you feel comfortable elaborating on that? I wonder if that's the type of strap-on that maybe is being used. Obviously I'm not going to make any assumptions or try to suggest that I know how to make it better for you. I know that can be really annoying. In my experience, I would say using a strap-on can be better if you're using a dildo that is kind of squishier and not like so hard, and lots of lube, lots of warm-up. Yep. Someone commented strap-ons can hurt more in my opinion. And
compared to what?
Compared to, I want to assume biodick, meaning I find it can be tough to get the right angle in comparison to biodick again. I'm just curious. And when I say biodick, and I always do like this motion, like a biological
Like it grew out of
penis
the ground.
that you grew out of the ground.
You're special.
I always do that motion.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, I mean, women generally, well, yeah, someone that isn't born with a penis generally doesn't know how to move the same way with the penis when they're having sex. So when you're pegging the motion's going to be a little bit different. A lot of the times, especially if you're trying something new, the person doesn't really know how that motion goes. So that can be a challenge, but that's usually not the hardest part.
Right.
Usually it's just A, convincing your partner to try it, and B, getting the toy in the first place, because like going slow and easing into things is like the hard part. Usually.
Warm up. They had commented, just to elaborate, they said, I've never tried the real thing. I meant opposed to a dildo, like as in a dildo that someone uses with their hands as opposed to a strap-on harness used with their body. But you made a really good point. I do discuss, especially, I gotta plug this now, in my Dildos to Dicks class. I'm actually presenting in Seattle this weekend. I discuss how often people that are assigned female at birth, the way that their hips move are not quite the same as somebody that's assigned male at birth. And I like to compare to like boy bands. Just because we've seen, you know where I'm going. You don't know where I'm going yet. A boy band, you know when you see them do like the hip thrust, and it looks like their hips are moving completely separate from the rest of their bodies. Like they're just doing this pelvic thrust.
I'll have to take your word for it. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? When their hips are just like moving apart from the rest of their body. There's something about somebody that typically is assigned male at birth that they're able to just like thrust their pelvis like that really easily. Whereas somebody like myself who's assigned female at birth, my hips don't thrust quite that way. I have to use my back and my thighs in order to really thrust. So there is a different technique to that. I don't know if that's what you were kind of suggesting on somebody that is pegging. Sure. May have to move their pelvis a little bit differently.
It's just a new motion for them unless they have a lot of experience with it, right?
And I have more experience with it, but it's still not the same as somebody who's assigned male at birth. I have found techniques, which I teach in that workshop, to like create the same kind of sensation without killing your back and thighs. It's a good workout, though.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good workout.
I know. I had so much respect for like all the sisters that I had sex with, the ones I tried to strap on. I was like, I'm so sorry. That must have been so much work. But anyways. So how would you suggest that? I don't know, you're like, he's super open-minded. He's really good with everything. If anything, he's more likely to suggest the thing. But from somebody who's assigned male at birth, like from your perspective, and you know a lot of other like cis dudes.
No, I don't.
Like your brothers.
I'm joking.
You know cis dudes.
Go ahead.
How would you recommend that a partner like bring up the topic of pegging and like try to introduce that to you?
I mean, it's different for me. I've never had any issue with that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of people that are like, anything in my butt is gay. And like, I heard on Facebook the other day or something like that, there was somebody posted something that was basically saying like they were talking to their friends, and one of their friends was basically like, I don't even wash my butt because it's gay. I'm like, that just boggles my mind.
As if gay was a bad thing.
Okay, so to start with,
it's not.
Gay is when men like men, regardless of what activities you participate in. There are lots of people that like having sex with people that have penises that aren't men. They're not gay. Like, it's so gay is who you're attracted to. It's not what you're doing. So to start with, pegging isn't gay. Which can be hard for some people to accept and get past. So that might be if you're working against that, that's a whole different conversation and a whole lot to get over before you even start. Honestly, I don't know. Like, how do you?
And that's where I would kind of broach that's why I kind of wanted to keep it as a broad subject. I didn't want to mention pegging in particular because it does come with certain issues of like toxic masculinity and such. But on the whole, what is it like how would you approach trying to introduce something to a partner that you're really like an activity that you're just interested in doing? And I see Sam Goodman already commenting, just ask. And that's kind of where I was going. If you're interested in trying something and you're not sure if your partner is interested in it, and I get it. That's really scary. That's super intimidating. You're making yourself really vulnerable and suggesting something with the fear and possibility of rejection, of like a really strong reaction from them, being like, oh, really? Do you do that? And I know that that's a fear, but I would say that that's ideally not very common, especially if you just sit them down in like a calm environment and just be like, you know what? And even preface that conversation with, this is kind of hard for me to say. I'm really kind of interested in this, and preface it with like, it's okay if you're not interested, but I just want to share this with you. This is something I'm kind of interested. What do you think of XYZ? And kind of give your topic.
Just saying just ask is really hard, because there's a lot of people that deal with a lot of shame around like stuff that we would consider even normal.
Yeah.
Like, and not to say that pegging is not normal, but it's outside of like the scope of what most people would consider
the
vanilla.
Social norms.
Well, just the scope of what most people would consider vanilla, right? So it's hard to just ask.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of vulnerability and being vulnerable, basically, when you're asking for something that you're interested in or you want that that your partner could reject you for.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
sorry, I gotta turn my sound off. Continue.
Yeah, anytime you are asking for something or expanding the scope of your relationship, you risk your partner saying no, and that's absolutely terrifying. And and my only thing that I would say about that is, anytime that you make yourself vulnerable, you give your partner the option to expand your relationship, right? Like, every time you're vulnerable and your relationship is affirmed, you become closer to that person. So it's worth it to explore these things. And, you know, if it's not something that's important to you and you bring it out there, it's not going to be as vulnerable, and it's not going to be as hard a rejection. If it's something that's really important to you, then that rejection is important because it's important to you. And if you can't do that with the person, then you might have to find a new partner.
Well, and that's something I was thinking about earlier when kind of chewing on this subject was, are you in a monogamous relationship or not?
Yeah, I was going to say another partner or another way to get that.
Because if you're in a not a monogamous relationship, you can be like, hey, that's okay, I'm not into it, but like maybe you can find someone that is into it. And I actually know monogamous couples that have branched out a little bit.
What were you used to say something about like me with butt sex? Like I was...
Oh, anal compersion. That's a whole other topic. Compersion is like...
No, I know, but that's it's. I mean, it's relevant to what you're saying right now.
It is.
It just made me think of that.
For the record, I'm not into receiving anal penetration. I love giving. I don't love receiving anal penetration, and I know you love giving anal penetration. And we're non-monogamous.
Sometimes, yeah.
And there was a point way back a million years ago in our relationship when I would get really excited when he would meet a partner that really enjoyed receiving anal, because I would get so excited for him. I'd be like, yeah, you go fuck her in the ass. You go get your anal. I'm so excited for you. It wasn't just about like less pressure for me. It just was really exciting because I felt like he could get his needs met. So that's why I talk about anal compersion. That's also mentioned in a chapter in my book, Polyglamorous, just so you know.
You're being very cute.
I know. Thank you.
So yeah.
You mentioned it.
I did. Yeah. Not the whole.
But no, I know of couples that were monogamous and one person had a certain fetish. And it was like, this isn't a romantic thing, but like you can go get your needs met. I won't say who it was, but it was a tickle fetish. That someone's husband had a tickle fetish. And she was like, she tried and she was like, I'm really, really not into it. I am okay with you having tickle dates with other people. And so he was able to get his needs met in that tickle fetish. When I worked as a stripper, I would have people come to me with foot fetishes. And that had girlfriends and would be like, I'm not into the foot thing, but if you go to a strip club in BC, you can touch someone from the knees down with their permission. So guys would come into the strip club to pay me to rub my feet. And I'd be like, yeah, that's awesome. Go for it.
Yeah, so I mean...
So that's an option.
sex workers are always a valid option for fetishes that you can't meet with your partner, assuming they're okay with that.
Assuming they're okay with it, yeah.
I never like to suggest people cheat on their partners.
Totally.
Be honest with your partners, because if you're cheating on them and they find out, it's going to be real bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it does become a little bit more complicated if you are strictly monogamous, but that's still something that you can talk about. I do want to mention that, like, there's a difference between not being super into something, but, like, willing to do it versus not really wanting to do something. And I want to give the example of, again, I feel like this is a lot of TMI for some people, but whatever. I don't even care. I don't get anything out of, like, people touching my breasts or nipples. It doesn't bother me. Usually, I don't really care. I'm kind of like, if you like them, go for it. But I don't get any satisfaction of it or from it. So I'm like, yeah, go for it. It doesn't bother me. But it's not like some people that are like, no, don't touch my chest. I'm not comfortable with that. So, like, there's a difference between that where I'm like, yeah, go for it. If you like it, that's good. Versus, no, I don't like my chest touched. You know what I mean? So, like, that's another thing to consider. If it's like, if you want to consider trying something for your partner that maybe you're not super interested in, is it because it doesn't really do anything for you, or is it because it makes you uncomfortable? I think that's a good thing to kind of evaluate, and it's okay to say, you know what, I appreciate you, I love you, and I appreciate you sharing this fetish or fantasy with me. Let me chew on that for a little bit and decide how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's important to go into every conversation you have with your partner thinking, you know, that they're wanting to support them and viewing everything from the best possible perspective. Like, your partner is probably not there to, like, try and make you uncomfortable or try and get you to do something you don't want to do or any of those things. So, like, if they're coming to you with this, it's because it's something that they want to try, and they might maybe downplay it a little bit because it's vulnerable for them. So if your partner's coming to you with something, try and be gentle at the very least. Be compassionate. Be kind.
And forthcoming. Like,
I mean,
just
be
made
honest,
me think,
for
like,
sure.
honest. It made me think of, there was a little comic I saw that was really funny. It was like, it looked like a straight couple, and the guy was like, how do you feel about trying anal? And she was like, that's great. And then the next little drawing, she's got a strap on, and she's like, let's do this. And he's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That makes me laugh every time. So, like, communicate that shit beforehand so you know what you mean beforehand. Like, specify exactly what you mean.
Who you'd like to receive is an important part of the conversation.
I love that comic. It just kills me. Okay, Bushfire says, on that topic, how do you explore and overcome that uncomfortableness? I kind of want to ask you to specify a little bit, if possible, the uncomfortableness of being the one to, like, say what you're interested in, or the uncomfortableness of being the other partner hearing it and being like, I'm not sure how to respond to that.
Or the uncomfortableness with this specific topic that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
which
Really, the way you get through uncomfortableness is to do something enough times that it's not uncomfortable. So whatever you're talking about, that's pretty much the answer.
But at the same time, like, you shouldn't be forced to do something you're not comfortable with.
No, but if they want to work through it, then they have to. If you want to keep doing the thing until you're not uncomfortable with it,
Exposure therapy.
then you have to do it. If you just don't want to do it, then you stop doing it. But if you want to work through it so that you're not uncomfortable, then you have to do the thing.
Baby steps, yeah.
Exposure
therapy.
You have to do the thing.
I think it said, so if your partner wants you to do something new.
Yeah. So we haven't really gotten into, like, that.
I'm here for the
some
boobs.
specific things. But a really good thing to do, maybe even before you try a thing, is do some research. Get some, talk to some people that have done the thing. Go to some classes, read some articles or some books. Like,
call me.
Pegging is a really good example for this because there's a huge stigma and stereotype about it, for sure, that can be hard to get over. And doing some actual, like, research into what it entails and how to do it well, and getting your partner to, like, maybe they don't want to do it right away or they're uncomfortable with it, and get them to read a little bit about it. Like, find something that you think might interest them about it and show that to them, right? Like, do some research before, especially if you're like having a hard time bringing the subject up with the person. Do some research yourself first. Have some things that you can bring to them and be like, these are some things that I saw that encouraged me, that I thought you might like about this subject that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's doing a lot of emotional labor beforehand, but it also gives your partner something to work with when you bring it to them, instead of just coming up and saying, I want to do pegging, let's try it, and they're like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
And then being, you know, like, if you have a little bit of knowledge, if you have some resources that can show them right away, it can take the edge off of that immediate shock or fear.
They did comment again, I want to be comfortable, but I've never done it before.
Okay. I'm assuming you're specifically talking about pegging. If you, I mean...
Or anything. It just said,
what
like...
I just said.
Yeah.
Like...
Just remember that you're not obligated to do anything you don't want to do, so it's okay if partway through you're like, you know what? I would like to stop right now. Just remember that you... If you start something and you're kind of like not sure, but you want to try it and you want to go into it, that's fine. You can stop at any time.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, not pegging. Cuckold.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's a very similar kind of topic. Yeah. It just involves another person, so it's got another dynamic or another a dimension to it. But I mean, it's something that, again, just like look up some stories about people that have done it and enjoyed it, like some erotica that people have written. And I really like erotica, especially like getting partners to write me erotica, because it shows from their perspective what is important. Like, the things someone writes in a story, those are the details that are important to them. So like when you go and you read a story from the perspective of someone who enjoys pegging or cuckolding or whatever it is, that story is going to include the elements that they find the most enjoyable in that story. Yeah. So like, look up some erotica about it. That can be really helpful. Porn, not so much, usually.
In almost every workshop, I discuss intent. What is it that you want to get out of this? What is it that interests you about that? So to have that conversation of like, okay, cuckold, that's a really interesting topic. What is it that you're really interested about cuckold? And like, what is it that you want to get out of that? What excites you about that? To have that conversation can definitely give you an idea of like, okay, what exactly are we looking at? And also question, okay, well, what makes you possibly not super comfortable with it? If you're doing a cuckold situation or any situation that involves another person, find somebody that you're comfortable with in that situation. But also not somebody that you're close enough to that it might like
unbiased third party
make a complicated friendship. You know, an unbiased third party is good, like a friend of a friend, kind of an acquaintance that you feel comfortable with. But I mean, if it doesn't go well, then it's not like the end of the world. Have dinner with them beforehand, because honestly, or even just coffee, because I feel like we work ourselves up to the situations that involve a third or fourth or etc. person. When you actually just sit down and talk with them, you kind of are reminded of the fact that, okay, this is just like a normal human being and it's going to be okay. Yeah. And just say, you can even say, I encourage you to say, I'm like trying to be really comfortable with this. I'm still really kind of anxious. And at least your partner or partners can be aware of that and try to just like keep an eye on you and be like, and check in with you, be like, this is so cool, this is okay. And remember, it's okay to say that you want to stop. You have more to say. It looks like.
Sam Goddamn, which I really like that name, said to make light of the situation. And I would say, I don't know. I don't know if I would make light of the situation necessarily. I mean,
that's what I do.
not coming into it like super duper serious can be helpful, but sometimes it has a certain amount of seriousness to it because you're dealing with something that makes you vulnerable. But not making the person feel like it's the end of the world is important, and like joking and being comfortable with the person is definitely a good idea. I wouldn't. Making light of the situation can be hard.
I know, that's my go-to.
Well, I mean,
and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Some people's defensive strategies involve making light of things and stuff, and some people don't react to that well. So I would say, possibly judge your partner as to whether or not that's a good idea.
All Sam says, try to be open-minded and communicate. And that's basically, like in a nutshell, try to be open-minded, realize that we're all human beings. You're all there to try something new, and of course to talk about things. That's why I like to recommend a dinner or a coffee or something beforehand. I know you kind of started the term embarrassment coffee,
Mm-hmm.
where like we get together and talk about embarrassing things and
I love embarrassment coffee. It's like the first coffee date you have with someone where you're like, so I'm interested in you, and these are the things I want to do with you, and like let's talk about all of the awkward sexual stuff that we're not supposed to talk about in public in a coffee shop because it's really uncomfortable and embarrassment is fun.
And afterward is important to discuss that afterward. And like anytime I do any kind of scene or play or sex beforehand, I might even stop, and it's happened. I'll stop like right as things are getting heated sometimes, or beforehand I'll say, if there's anything that later, whenever you decide wasn't okay or that you didn't like, I would really like it if you would find a way to let me know that. Whether that's like you can email me, you can tell me in person, you can get a third person to convey that to me. But I want to know if there's something I did that wasn't okay, or if there's something you're struggling with. And I feel like every time I've said that, it's put any partners I've had at ease to be like, okay, you're somebody I can be comfortable to say if something's not okay.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Good job.
Okay. I think he's about done now.
Am I?
Are you about done?
No, I don't know. I just thought I didn't have anything to add to that.
You don't have anything. Have you done that before, where you have said like
No,
if something's
not explicitly.
No? Oh, I always say that
like,
very explicitly.
I mean, I always tell people that if I would like them to contact me, but I never explicitly in that.
To say if something went wrong, or you just say you want them to contact you in general?
I mean, both. I mean, talking to the
Very
person.
pretty.
Talking to the person again after the scene is really good, but
It is
like
good
I
to
usually,
check in.
I usually say like check in with me later. I'd like to talk to you again, and like, if there's an issue, you can definitely get a hold of me.
I'm okay. It's okay if you come to me. It's okay if you write an email. It's okay if
I mean, it depending on the scene, but like a lot of the times, if it's like really intense, I'll be like, you might have drop in a day or two, and depending on how bad it is, like, definitely contact me. I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah. I usually ask, especially because I travel a lot too, and oftentimes if I'm playing with somebody that's not a major geographical location, I'll be like, I'm not going to be in your city, in the next couple days. You can text me and I'm happy, and I'll check in with you as well. But do you have somebody that you can go to if you need cuddles? Because I'm not going to be there. Sam says, great point, Robin, and thank you. You're welcome. We should probably finish up now. Because I have work to do and you have video games.
I do. They're calling me. I can hear them.
What video games are you playing tonight?
Probably League of Legends.
League
maybe
of Legends.
Albion.
Albion?
Yeah, I just started playing that last night.
I'm not a video game person. I'm not familiar. I like horror movies, and I actually have more emails and stuff to get back to. Has anyone ever said you look like... Oh, shit.
Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah,
Who's that?
Once or twice as an actor.
You?
Yes, me.
Oh, is it that guy? There's a guy that you told me about that had like the long hair. I think he was a musician that everyone said looked like you.
You're thinking of, oh crap, what's his name now?
What was his name? He looked just like you.
Yeah, I get that one a lot, but I can't remember his name now.
Benicio del Toro. Who's that? I'm going to Google that shit right now. I'm Googling it before we go, because I need to see this shit. Yours is going to be faster because my computer's slow.
I'm not looking.
Benicio, or you're looking for the musician guy?
Yeah, I searched white rapper and it's the first picture.
White rapper.
Post Malone.
Post Malone.
Yeah.
People would come up to him when he had long hair and tell him all the time.
That's when I had longer hair, yeah.
Benicio del Toro. Yeah. Images. Hey, I can see the resemblance. With like kind of squinty eyes and the big eyebrows.
I've gotten that before. It depends.
You have it?
It depends on what I look like. Yeah, I get Post Malone or Benicio del Toro.
But you need to style your hair because
no,
everyone knows this. He just shaved his head and he's just growing it out.
Same hair.
You need to shape it as it grows. You have to shape it.
See, he's got this awful.
No, he doesn't. Look, he trims the sides. He shapes it. Yours is just like. I love you. You're very pretty, but your hair needs to
Bye,
reflect
video
that.
people.
Your hair needs to reflect how handsome you are.
No.
He's insistent on just growing it out. And it drives me absolutely bonkers. I can totally see that. Thank you for that, Benicio del Toro. A Spanish... Brandon, you're a Spanish Brad Pitt.
I'm not Spanish. He might be a Spanish Brad Pitt.
Is he Spanish Brad... No, Benicio del Toro is apparently a Spanish Brad Pitt, which is what you look like. He looks like a Spanish Brad Pitt. That's a really good compliment. Thank you so much for joining on my little live video for Hump Day Q&A. Please let me know if you have any questions or topics you want me to talk about in future stuff. If you or anyone you know, because I get it lately, people say oh, I missed the live video. So I've started posting it on my YouTube video, Sex with Red Robin. Nope. Sex with Robin. I've had to drop the red. I've had some issues over the restaurant, Red Robin. So on my social medias, no joke, I got an email. I'm dropping the red. So it has to be Sex with Robin now. So I'm working on that.
They have no grounds to...
Yeah, they do. I got an email.
No, they don't.
Over the hashtags and the name Red Robin. There's a restaurant. Anyways, so I've had to drop the red and now it's Sex with Robin. So anyways, that's where my YouTube videos are. Next week, I'm going to discuss squirting. I've had that topic suggested a lot. It's actually one of my most popular workshops that I do. Obviously, in the workshop itself, I have live demos and stuff, which I can't do on social media, but I can talk about the nerdy ways that the body works and the fact that it can be a real thing. So anyways, happy Hump Day, everyone. Mwah, 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 mwah. Enjoy the rest of your Hump Day, and I will see you next week on Hump Day Q&A to discuss squirting. And I do other ones. I mean, I do a sex tip Sunday and etc. If you want to follow me on my Instagram, that's probably the most that I post on, and that's again Sex with Robin. So other than that, have a good night. Mwah, mwah. Take care of each other. Okay. Love you. Bye. Bye. And up here. Bye.